The internet is ablaze with a peculiar debate that's got everyone picking sides. Could 100 regular humans take down a single gorilla in a fight? Social media is split down the middle. One camp swears a gorilla would steamroll the human crowd like a comic book villain, while the other insists that sheer numbers would let humans swarm and conquer like an unstoppable mob. So, who's got the edge? Is this a fair matchup, or is it a one-sided beatdown? Does the gorilla dominate, or do the humans pull off the upset? Let's break it down and find out. If you're into this kind of wild analysis, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's dive into the chaos. To start, we need to lay out the players in this hypothetical brawl. On one side, we have the gorilla. And we're not talking about just any gorilla, imagining the absolute king of the jungle, a silverback eastern lowland gorilla, the most formidable of its kind. These titans can stand over 6 feet tall and weigh between 400 and 500 pounds, with the biggest recorded specimens pushing 600 pounds or more. But raw size only tells part of the story. A gorilla's body is a masterpiece of power, with an arm span stretching beyond 8 feet, muscles denser than a bodybuilder's, and body fat so low it makes humans look like couch potatoes. This is a creature built for dominance, with proportions that dwarf even the fittest human. Now, let's look at the human side. We're not stacking the deck with Navy SEALs or pro athletes. Instead, picture 100 completely ordinary people, your neighbours, co-workers, or the folks you see at the grocery store. To keep things consistent, we'll use average American stats for this group. That means 50 men, each about 5'9" and roughly 200 pounds, and 50 women, averaging 5'4" and around 170 pounds. Sure, Americans tend to carry a bit more weight than some other populations, but even if we use stats from a leaner nation, the core dynamics wouldn't shift much. The gorilla still looms larger than any single human, taller by a few inches, and casually doubling the weight of the average man. To visualize 100 people, think of a medium-sized community event, not a tiny gathering, but not a rock concert either. It's a sizable group, like the crowd at a local theatre or a busy restaurant on a Friday night. With the stage set, let's answer the big question: who wins this clash? Figuring out a gorilla's true strength is like trying to solve a puzzle with half the pieces missing. For one, gorillas aren't predators like wolves or tigers. They're mostly peaceful, munching on plants and avoiding trouble. Unlike humans, who'll happily bench press or run experiments to test their limits, you can't coax a gorilla into a lab for a strength test with a promise of extra bananas. This means we're stuck relying on estimates drawn from their anatomy and the rare moments when they've shown off their power. To make matters worse, the internet is a swamp of conflicting claims. One source says a gorilla can lift 1,800 pounds. Another doubles down with a wild 4,000 pound claim. Some argue a gorilla is 8 times stronger than a human, while others throw out numbers like 10, 12, or even a jaw-dropping 20 times stronger. It's a mess of speculation with little agreement. Let's cut through the clutter and focus on what's verifiable. Gorillas have been documented performing incredible feats, like snapping small trees, shattering reinforced glass at zoos, and breaking human bones in brief encounters. Smaller primates, like chimpanzees, which weigh less than a quarter of a gorilla, can lift between 800 and 1,200 pounds, roughly 2 to 3 times what an average human can manage. If chimps are that strong, it's not a stretch to believe a gorilla could hit that 4,000 pound mark, putting their strength at roughly 8 to 10 times that of a human. Historical accounts, though tougher to confirm, add some spice to the story. A 19th century explorer once claimed gorillas could bend metal weapons with their bare hands, while another report from centuries ago suggested that 10 men couldn't pin down a single gorilla. These tales are old and murky, but they hint at a level of power that's hard to dismiss. Then there's the question of bite force and striking power, which is notoriously hard to measure without a gorilla willingly punching a sensor. Still, conservative estimates peg a gorilla's punch at around 881 joules of force, with high-end guesses soaring to 3,660 joules. For comparison, an average human punch clocks in at a puny 74 joules, meaning a gorilla's strike could be anywhere from 10 to 50 times more devastating. Speed isn't a huge factor here, unlike some fictional matchups, where one side blitzes the other. Gorillas and humans are roughly comparable in movement. Gorillas might have a slight edge in explosive bursts, but neither side is sprinting laps around the other. They're both built for short, intense clashes, not endurance races. So, the gorilla is a walking tank, stronger, heavier, and more powerful than multiple humans combined. But does that mean the 100 humans are out of luck? Let's explore the dynamics of this fight. In a one-on-one scenario, or even a 2-on-1 or 10-on-1, The gorilla is untouchable. Its raw strength could crush bones with a single swing, and it could grab and toss a human like a child flinging a toy. A human trying to punch a gorilla, they'd probably bruise their own knuckles before the gorilla even notices. The gap in power is so vast that small groups of humans don't stand a chance. But when you scale up to 100 humans, the equation changes dramatically, and here's why. First, there's the issue of stamina. Gorillas aren't built for marathon battles. In the wild, their conflicts, whether with other gorillas or rare threats, last a few minutes at most. Humans aren't exactly endurance champs either, but with 100 of them, the numbers start to overwhelm. Even if the gorilla tears through 20, 30, or even 40 people in a furious rampage, that leaves 60 still standing, ready to keep the pressure on. A gorilla, no matter how strong, will start to tire and fast. Second, strategy and coordination play a massive role. For this fight to even happen, we have to suspend some real-world instincts. In reality, a gorilla facing a crowd of 100 humans would likely turn tail and run. Gorillas avoid conflict when outnumbered. Likewise, most humans, seeing a gorilla pummel someone, would scatter in panic rather than charge in. But let's assume both sides are fully committed, with no fear and no retreat. In that case, 100 humans can organize quickly. They don't need military precision, just a basic plan to swarm. A gorilla, for all its might, can't fight off dozens of attackers coming from every angle. Even targeting 20 at once is beyond its reach. The third factor is weight. A gorilla might lift 1,800 pounds on a good day, but a coordinated group of humans piling on is a different story. If just 10 humans, each weighing 170 to 200 pounds, jump on, that's 1,700 to 2,000 pounds of pressure. Add more, and the gorilla's pinned, no matter how strong it is. Sure, some humans would get hurt badly in the process. Bones would break, and the front line would take a beating. But with 50 men and 50 women all in the mix, the numbers are overwhelming. Pinning the gorilla is one thing, but defeating it is the goal. Can humans actually hurt it without weapons? Human punches are weak compared to a gorilla's, but kicks are a different story. A solid human kick can deliver 3,000 to 4,000 joules of force on, par with or even surpassing a gorilla's punch in raw energy. One kick won't faze a gorilla, but imagine dozens of people unloading kicks on a pinned gorilla, targeting vulnerable spots like the head. Over time, that's enough to knock it out. So, what's the final call? The 100 humans have the edge, but it's not a clean victory. The gorilla would wreak havoc, and anyone at the front of the charge is in for a rough day. If gorillas were truly capable of taking on 100 humans at once, we'd hear far more stories of them clashing with human groups in the wild, like we do with elephants or bears. Instead, gorilla attacks are rare, and humans have historically come out on top when numbers are on their side. The bottom line, humans win, but you'd want to stay far from the front line when that silverback starts swinging. Thanks for sticking with me through this wild ride. Big shout out to my supporters, and I'll catch you in the next breakdown.